up, everyone? Happy Friday. You made it. Welcome back to the Friday Live with Lauren show. I'm Lauren. If you haven't been here before, thanks for tuning in. If you are back with us again, you know the deal. I know that LinkedIn just told me I went live on my phone. Did LinkedIn tell you? Will you share the show? Let other people know we are live right now. And while you're sharing the show, comment and tell us where you are joining us from. We don't know you're here if you don't tell us. This is not an audio event. This is live. And I have a very special guest with me today. I know I always say that to you, but I don't think enough of you in my network know Kat Fergerson. Hello.
Hello. It's
How
me.
are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm so excited to be here with you today. I was telling Kat right before we joined, I was literally talking about her at dinner last night. I was telling somebody how excited I was to have Kat come on today. So, Kat, thank you for spending an hour with us today. I'm so excited. It's going to go by so quick. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Born ready today.
Born ready. All right. I'm going to switch us so that I can make you big. And while everybody's telling us where they're from, Kat, why don't you give us a little introduction about yourself?
Would love to. Okay. I'm Kat, pronoun she, her, and I am in Los Angeles right now. So I do complain about the weather a lot, but mostly because people hate it. It's not because I actually care about the weather too much. Professionally, I just started as head of partnerships at Ashby, which is an all-in-one recruiting platform for ambitious teams to unlock hiring excellence. So recruiters, talent teams, it makes it all easy. And I'm focused on channel partnerships, our VC partnerships program, integrations, pretty much anything you can think of with partners. That's what I'm doing right now. Before that, I came from companies like Adidas, Bird. I was just recently at a DEI technology company called Matheson. A lot of those are startups. The startup life, I didn't choose it. It chose me. Personally, I'm a California native. So I grew up in Northern California, made my way up and down the coast, and settled here in Los Angeles. I'm a mom. I am married to my wonderful wife, Jordan. My kids are very, very active twin 3-year-olds. So pure pandemic babies, July 2020, right in the center there. So when I'm not working, I am likely chasing them around. Don't get to play that guitar too much, usually because I am where my kids are, which is at a park or a play area or anywhere to get their energy out because they have a ton.
Oh my goodness, I feel you. My son has a sport every night of the week. We are always doing something, right? And yesterday, I don't know about for you, but yesterday here was bring your child to work day. So my son got to come in, and the office, I'm in a co-working space. They did a scavenger hunt. Shout out to the one co-work. They did so much stuff for the kids. They did pizza, they had donuts. They made little name tags for them. It was amazing, but I totally know what you mean. I got no work done. Zero work done. Chasing that little rugrat around. If you're watching, let us know. Do you have kids? Do you know the struggle, what we're talking about? Let's go. Katie Penner's in the house. Hi, Katie. We got Peter here from Dallas. I'm in Florida. Michelle actually just landed in LA. She told me. So she's over by you, Kat.
Hey.
We got some
Well,
people
depends on where in LA.
That's true. That's true. We got some people watching on YouTube. Y'all, I know I don't think it's working on Facebook today. There's some stuff going on with StreamYard, but thank you, Michelle. I'll send you the color. Houston's in the house. We got Orlando here. What's up, Steve? Thanks for tuning in. Happy Friday, Liz. What's up, Tom? We got everybody in the house. Austin, Texas. We got New York City. I was there last week at Golden Hour. Another Los Angeles, Jackson. Look, we got everybody here. And somebody, who are you? Such a struggle. Well, who LinkedIn user are you? Comment your name. We got a privacy setting going on. All right. We have so many hot topics to talk about. This person is watching from Sacramento. Who are
Okay,
you?
my sister.
Yay.
That's my sister.
Okay, we know who it is now. What's up, Kat's sister? No kids, but a very needy doggo. That counts too, Michelle. And we got Boston. Hey, Tom. Thanks for joining us. Okay, is everybody ready? We're going to go into topic number 1. which is very important. We're going to talk about DEI from day one. And you heard Kat, she's been at a lot of startups. So we're going to talk about like, when do you really need to do this? Hit day one. So Kat, I'm going to let you take us away. But when we're talking about DEI from day one, how do you spot the difference, right? When a company says we really value diversity, how do you the difference between like that genuine commitment or like trendy PR moves?
Well, it is, in my opinion, easy to spot it from the inside because you can tell when you're seeing messaging externally that then isn't reflected in the practices and internal culture. I usually spot this when someone says, I think that DEI is going to slow me down if I start it too soon. That's like the big misconception here. And DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, it is under attack right now in a lot of ways. So even just having this as a topic, I will probably get comments like, why are you even talking about this? It doesn't matter. Like, it's why is this something you're focused on? Really I disagree. It is very important to talk about because of all of that. Also want to preface that I am a white woman talking about DEI in tech, which is only inclusive of my experience and the data that I've collected. You can tell I've worked in a DEI technology company when I say things like this because I am just a little bit more cognizant of it. But it is so important for startups especially to think about how, and if you think about DEI as this like monolith of an industry, come back to like, what are we actually trying to do? And it's bake in inclusive practices and a foundation that can scale with your company, because the ultimate goal of a startup is to scale and to grow and to on, whatever your goals are, and whether it's IPO or get acquired or whatever. But it's usually to grow in some form or fashion. And just like with AI, what you put into it is what will then scale out of it. So if you are just not paying attention in the early days to what foundation you're setting, those things will scale as you grow because you start to move faster, your velocity increases, and then it becomes a lot more challenging to come back to the beginning to actually build the correct foundation. And that is why so many DEI professionals get set up for not for success. They get kind of trapped into the system of saying, hey, we need to go back and focus on DEI, when there's all this sludge that they then have to go and try and rework from the culture that's already been built. So this topic, it's really, I could talk about it all day, but it's so important that you take that second to look at your foundation, even if it is a couple extra hours when you're looking at, let's take hiring, for example. That's a really great one. I hear a lot, I want to hire the best person for the job. I want to hire the person who's most qualified. I don't need to worry about DEI. The problem with statements like that in general is that there are systematic and structural processes baked into organizations, starting from even before someone gets to an organization. So our socioeconomic status and how I have the opportunities I have based on where I was born and what access to education. So that affects what high school I go to, what college and university I ultimately get into, and then where in my networks that I build as I go. And then by the time I get to my job, I have a lot more than somebody who's from a different place and background than I am. So it's really baked into everything before you get there. And it's something that organizations can't ignore in the long term, because so many Gen Z job seekers in particular are so focused on this authenticity, this representation of, are you doing what you say and following up basically on your commitments. So not just putting it on the website, but then also making sure that you have the there once you've hired people in to build that really inclusive organization. And I really do think that it starts from, exactly, the job descriptions, having consistency in the beginning, like all that stuff scales. And it takes a little bit more time to set up, But once you do that, then it will set you up for more inclusive practices later on. And I just want to be clear that even if you set up consistent structures and foundations, there are going to be things like biases that creep in. But if you set up your foundation and then the correct measurement tools in place, this is something that I love about Ashby so much. It's built on an analytical foundation that allows you to track just in a super robust way. So if you track from the beginning, then you're able to identify those gaps and identify, oh, we may have some biases here that we need to adjust our process. So the process that you set out from day one may not be the process that you have ultimately at the end, but if you have one that then you can revisit over and over, then you're able to improve it as you go.
Someone asked me a question, but I'm actually going to ask you to take this one. Do you think DE&I should report to the CEO and founder of the company?
Yes. In a public company, yes. I think that so much of what DEI work is doing is holding organizations accountable across the board for these practices, and they need to have the right, I would say, power in place and influence in place in order to do that. A lot of times it can be really tricky when you're at, again, that like large public organization, if you do not have that influence. But I will caveat that by saying, if you are the only one, if you're a head of DE&I at a public company and you're it to change it, that's why we see such high rates of burnout with DEI professionals, and the rates at which they are leaving the field and or way worse things are happening because they've been shouldered with, hey, we forked out the budget to give this one person the opportunity, as opposed to really embedding it across an organization, which is ultimately how that is going to be successful.
And what I'm noticing is a lot of these positions are actually the first ones to get cut. A company 3 or 4 years ago went all in and said, this is so important to us. And right now you go to their website and it's completely erased. Mm-hmm. What do you say to the companies who are completely falling off this trend right now?
Believe people when they show you who they are. I think there are a lot. I think it's also important, as just somebody looking at the situation, to understand who people's stakeholders are. So if I am a CEO of a company, my stakeholders are my board and my shareholders. So if I'm getting pressure from shareholders and board to do something, you will see that in the actions and the policies, cough, return to office, cough. Like those things usually come from external pressures that aren't seen by the everyday employees that, you know, are influencing decisions. So it's helpful to know that, but I do think it's really disappointing to see. I do think that organizations right now are taking a look across all of the legislation that's coming down, and wanting to make sure that they don't seem to they want to continue to appease their shareholders and the people who are feeding them, essentially. So I think it's disappointing to see, but there are companies who are very committed and continuing to be committed. And I think those are the examples that we need to lean into. And that's always my advice is, hey, you're not going to convince somebody who thinks that this is absolutely not something you should do. What you should focus on is the people who are in it, and then build and strengthen them, because otherwise it's again that burnout cycle of, you know, I'm going to continue to hit my head against a wall if I just try and move this immovable object. So it's the same thing with your strengths. If you have a strength, like lean into that strength, lean into the people who are, I hate that lean in, but like, you know, absolutely give energy and power to the people who are doubling down on it, because there are a lot more than we hear about in the news.
100%. When we're talking about from day one, if there's somebody right now who's a founder and they're just getting started, what is the impact of really focusing on this from day one for their business?
Amazing question. And I think the bottom line is the business performance will ultimately speak for the foundation you set. The value of getting inclusive hiring practices right is that by having diverse perspectives and point of views in the room, people with different backgrounds and experiences, people of different race, gender, sexuality, is that it informs their perspective, it informs the way their brains work, and it actually decreases groupthink and increases an environment of innovation and acceleration in your company. So what it will help you do is, instead of hiring someone you just really, really like because you're both blonde, you both went to the same school, you both did the same things. Lauren, you're awesome, you're a mom, I'm a mom, like those kinds of things that do form connection. It helps you actually, by having that structured, inclusive process from the beginning, hire people who are going to be excellent at their job because you're very clear on what you need, and you're very clear on what objective criteria you're using to bring those people into your organization.
I love it. We're going to get more into that when we talk about the anatomy of a job description, really breaking down the specifics of how that helps in this aspect too. Before I forget, I don't think I told anybody that we do have a giveaway today. And it's something that I think you all are going to want. I know Kat's going to enter. I told her she had to. Mini truff, hot sauce set, excuse me, say that 4 times fast. Mini white truff hot sauce set. I still can't say it. But you can enter to win that by commenting #Sendoso. As always, I'm going to put this on the bottom so that you can see. Comment #Sendoso. Thank you to Sendoso for providing the giveaways for the show. And then if you're watching and you watched last week, you know we did 2 truths and a lie. I convinced Kat to play with us again today. So we're going to give away 2 boxes of Grove Cookie Company cookies. Somebody tag them if you're watching. So we have 3 giveaways today on the show. Last week we did 5, and 5 was a lot. So 3 today. And we're going to have so much fun at the half. And we are bringing back the High Five Friday today. I know last week we took a break. So if you're tuning in, there's 5 high fives, 3 giveaways, and 3 more topics with Kat. If you're watching, we're going to jump into the second topic now, which is the anatomy of a job description. Now, if you're watching, I want you to tell me the truth in the comments, because it's true. Do you read the entire job description? Answer me that. Do you read the entire job description before you decide to apply? Yes or no in the comments. You can elaborate if you want, but I need to know, do you actually read every single word? All right. And while you guys are answering that, Kat, take us away on what's the anatomy of, let's start with the good before we get into the bad, right? So let's talk about some good. Give us some anatomy of a good job description.
Okay. A job description, at I think its best, is a document that communicates clearly the expectations of a role. And that could be everything surrounding it. So what the actual job is, not just I won't focus on the not. What the job is, what the company does, what team will I be working on, who's going to be managing this position, what's the reporting structure, like just some basics. And actually, a lot of people miss even those. Who are the broader cross-functional leaders I'm going to be working with? Who's influencing this position? Jobs can be different and roles in every single organization. Those things are really helpful to understand. If, for example, you want to work in a certain department and you realize that it's not a marketing role, this is a sales role, just because it's in a different organizational structure. Does the job fit your style? So what are the expectations for success? What are you going to be doing every day? And then what are the benefits associated with this company? Like, what am I going to be getting supported how am I going to be supported outside of that day to day? For example, your parental leave or your health benefits, all those types of things. I do also think that a really good job description needs to be opinionated. You need to be and tell people that you are for something and what you are maybe not a fit for, because it will help you identify clearly the type of role and the type of profile that will be successful in that job. So a really great example of this, and can I share my screen, Lauren, or is that okay? Let me see. I'm gonna mess this up. I think the people hiring don't even read the whole job description. Sometimes that is a problem, though. I think it's such a great document. Okay, I did study English though, so I'm a word person. That's share screen. Okay, I can't do it, Lauren. I'm going to send you the link because I don't want to fumble with it.
Okay, send it to me and I'll share it from my side.
Okay.
See, y'all, we just do this live. We didn't practice.
No.
Let me open this really quick and I'll share it and you can talk about it.
Awesome.
Present, share screen. I normally don't have to do this till the very end of the show. Here we go. Can everybody see the screen? There we go.
Cool.
Tell me when to scroll.
Okay, this is perfect. Okay, so this is a job description from Ashby. And what I love about this, and this is before I joined, so I'm going to say, like, I was a partner for Ashby before I joined the organization, so I was a fan of this before I got here. So I do think this is a really amazing example. But the way that Abik, who's one of Ashby's co-founders, thinks about job descriptions is a story. So let me tell you a story about why this job is posted, why we need this person, and give you examples of some of the things you'll be doing here. If you can scroll down a little bit. Lauren, down a little bit more. So it's pause, bolded like the important information. This is a staff level role. This is what we require in terms of experience, and being very clear about, like, this is something that we need in order for you to make it into the interview process. If you don't tell people your expectations in a job description, there's no way they're going to know whether they're the right fit or not for the role. It goes into then what's the culture of this team specifically. So not even just at an organization level, what is the engineering culture, because it differs everywhere. So it goes into examples of how to collaborate, how to communicate, how they think about hiring within, and how they think about resourcing within an organization, the engineering organization. You scroll down a little bit, even included like a Loom walkthrough of building blocks within the product, which I think is extra, but absolutely so helpful if I'm looking at what could be a differentiator for my company to then like get good talent in the door. And then also calls out, hey, we put effort into diversity. And my favorite, here's the interview process. What can you expect once you submit this? This is something that I would love for everyone to adopt, but here's what's going to happen. There's going to be an intro call. We're going to have a technical screen, and then we're going to have a virtual on-site where we, go through the exercise. And then beyond that, it talks about what's going to happen once you get in the door. What's that going to look like? What are your expectations for success? What technology stack are you going to be working with? I think this level of detail is just so helpful. And again, there are ways that you can create a template for a storytelling framework like this, where you don't have to like write a novel every time you write a job. That doesn't work at high volume. Any high volume recruiters looking at this, like, what, are you kidding me? So like you can templatize this, and then it goes into the benefits, and then you can apply for the job. So I think that is like really comprehensive and just so thoughtful, because it tells me as a candidate that this is what I'm going to get on the other side. And it gives me a look into just how thoughtful they are about hiring and who they bring in.
Yeah, Andrew calls it out. It's one of the best job descriptions I have seen in a very, very long time. And Tom, yeah, it's a real brand advantage. People want to work for companies who are doing it right. Okay, so Lindsay commented earlier that it depends on how long the job description is. So I'm gonna ask you, what is the appropriate length for a job description? We just looked at one that was pretty long, right? It was
Yeah.
very clear, but it was pretty long. So
Yep.
what's the appropriate length when people are writing a job description? What do you think?
Ooh, so it depends on the role, right? I don't think there's a silver bullet for what's going to be the best. However, I do know from a capturing attention standpoint that you have 2 to 6 seconds, maybe at most, to capture someone's attention with a job description before they've moved on. So if you don't have something that keeps them there in the absolute top top of the fold of your job description, then they will not get there, and then it is a waste of time. So you need to make sure that you have something that's going to capture and say like this. I don't know how I did that with Zoom.
It's okay. It's okay.
You need to capture their attention because you have a very limited amount of time to keep them there to want to read more. So I think it's less about how long is too long, and it's more how am I going to how like is this something I'm going to want to read?
Yeah, I think Willa, what you do is probably the most common. I think most people skip down to the requirements, see where they're at with those, and then hopefully go back and read the job description. I'm convinced nobody actually goes back and reads the job description when they do this, but I think that this is the majority take is that most people skip a lot of it just to read the requirements and go back. Um,
I would like to offer, I do think people read them once they're interviewing with a company. They've applied and then they're interviewing, and I do think that people go back and read at that point.
100%. Um, okay, we talked a lot about the good. Let's talk a little bit about the bad. What are some of like the worst things, like ludicrous things that you have seen in job descriptions, right? And then like how does that also affect the company?
Okay, it's all employer brand on your job description. Every touch point you have with a potential candidate or prospect is employer brand. So this is why I also am so passionate about these things matter. Even if a candidate may not read all of it, it still goes into how you bring about like what you want someone to take away. I think that the worst things I've seen can be anywhere from looking for the generic keywords like rock stars, ninjas, things that people are going to be wearing like the multiple hat thing. It's indicative of a startup, so it's telling you something in its language, but it's something to try and avoid if you can. I think when I see like bonus points I do not like bonus point sections because it shows me that everyone's not being judged the same. I want to see the big salary ranges where Netflix did that for a while, I think, where they had like a $5,000 to like $500,000 salary range just to comply, but that was just just make that make a little bit more sense if you're in a state where pay equity is required. I think that if you are putting benefits that aren't really benefits, that's something to watch out for as well. What have you seen, Lauren? What's the worst?
The
Oh,
worst,
family oriented. Yeah, that's a good one.
yeah, family oriented or anytime that a job description says that we're a family here, like red flag, don't apply for that. You're on a team, right? I want to be part of a team. I have a family at home. I don't want to be part of a family at work. I want to be part of a team, a winning team, and I want to do really great on the team, but I don't want to be your family. Spend enough time with you. Thank you. That's a big red flag for me. The other one are job descriptions that are relatively like very, very short. I've been seeing a lot of those lately, like almost opposite of the long, in-depth, beautiful job description we just showed on the screen. It's like 4 bullet points and that's it. And you're like, what? And there's like literally nothing. And I'm like, who's the lazy person who wrote this? I'd rather have a really long chat GPT job description that I'm probably not reading than 4 bullet points. Like, why am I wasting my time applying for that? And then the other thing is I think people are really getting frustrated with those large salary ranges. People want to know what they're investing their time in, and investing your time in an interview process, your time is worth something. So to say that I need to get through 3 interviews before I'm going to figure out how much I'm going to make, absolutely not. First conversation, you need to be able to discuss salary. If it's not on the job description, first conversation, salary needs to be discussed. You don't have to land on a number, you don't have to negotiate, but it has to be brought up right away. That's my rant. Please, God, don't get 6 interviews in and find out you wasted 3 months of your life for a job that pays $80K less than the market value and you wouldn't have taken it anyway.
Preach.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to get off my pedestal. We have the one and only Michelle Craig coming on. I'm going to let Kat take a break for a moment. Go get some water, Kat. We'll see you in just a second. Michelle is going to come on for High Five Friday. It is back. We got 5 people. We are high-fiving today. I can't wait. So I'm going to go take a sip of water too. But in 1 second, you're going to see Michelle.
What is up, everybody? We are back with another High Five Friday after a quick little break last week. So excited to be here and tuning in from LA. So if you have recommendations, send those my way. Let's get into it. We have 5 incredible shout outs today. The first one is coming from Katrina Redden from Toronto. She wants to shout out the Dino team for being the absolute best possible teammates a person could ask for. Melissa, Raina, and Ben are the best herd that she has. Then we've got Tom Slocum for Amanda Bagley. I want to shout out Amanda Bagley for burning midnight oil and putting together an incredible event this last week for her team at Audience Plus. The event was golden hour, and from the content and the post-event feedback that they slayed it. I just want to highlight her for all of her hard work. Go, Amanda. Next up, we have Lisa Dean for Tori Whaley. I'd like to give a shout out to Tori Whaley. Tori is a job seeker who is utilizing LinkedIn beautifully and effectively to job search. She's upbeat, she's motivational, sharing stories and songs that inspire, and she has great job search tips. Next up, we have Cassie Moreno for Mason Cosby. Mason has been so kind and generous in sharing his story of going from an IC marketer to an agency owner and his journey of becoming an ABM thought leader. Not only that, but his use of getting a podcast to give a sense of his product offering and build an audience for inbound leads. He's so generous with his time and expertise, specifically a long talk at Golden Hour, and really gave me such a confidence boost in believing I'm on the right path. Thank you, Mason. And then last but not least, my pal Joe Fontana wanted to give me a shout out, which I appreciate. So Michelle Craig herself, she took the time to understand my offerings and make intros that brought value to all of the players involved. She is the epitome of what LinkedIn is all about. Joe, that makes my day, and always happy to help and be a resource. So happy Friday, y'all. Hope it's a good one for everyone, and we'll see you next week.
Oh, I was on mute. There we go. I'm back. You can hear me now. Comment, can you hear me? I was on mute. Earlier, I thought I was on mute when I coughed, and I wasn't while Kat was talking. I told Kat before the show she could not mess up the show more than me, and she asked if that was like a competition, and I just did it to myself multiple times. So whatever, here we go. We got 2 more hot topics. Really quick, I want to give a shout out to Better Leap. They are a sponsor of the show. If you are a recruiter and you have not used their natural language sourcing, oh my goodness, it will change everything for you. Send me a DM. I got my own link. I would love to show you around. And what's up to Sendoso? I gotta like come up. I'm too short for this one. It's like my little T-Rex body. Can't take it. I don't know. But what's up, Sendoso? Thank you so much for sponsoring the show. We got this truff Truff hot sauce coming at you today. You can comment Sendoso to win that. And I am going to go find Kat. Kat, are you there?
I'm here.
She took herself off mute. I didn't have to say anything. Look, y'all, it's just me today. Whatever. Okay, really quick before we get into the next topics, let me drop the giveaways thing on the bottom. Y'all, I think 8 of you have entered in for the hot sauce giveaway. Don't forget. And then we are not actually going to do, we're not going to do the topics yet. We're going to do my new favorite part of the show. Every time I'm like, this is my favorite part of the show. The whole show is my favorite, y'all. But we're going to play 2 truths and a lie. This is where you can win some Grove Cookie Company cookies. You do have to live in the U.S. Andrew, I know you won last week. Tell me who you want me to send your cookies to in the U.S. because you are in Canada and I can't send you any. But if you're in the U.S., you can win, or you can just ship them to somebody in the U.S. You want to go first, or you want me to go first?
Me?
Yeah, I think you should go first.
Okay, I'll go first.
All right, so let me switch. Let's make Cat big. All right, everyone. The first person to comment the number of the lie, like these are numbered, okay? Find the lie. The first person to comment the number of the lie that I see will win the Grove Cookie Company cookies. All right, are you ready? Find the lie. Number 1, Kat used to juggle for kid birthday parties with her twin. Does Kat have a twin? Can Kat juggle? We don't know. Do you know? Number 2, did Kat compete in the Junior Olympics as a pole vaulter? I tried to do pole vaulting once. I didn't make it. Did Kat do that? And then number 3, is Kat's dream to become a certified dive master? What? These are really good. Aaron guessed number 2. Number 3 is the winner. Marissa, you win cookies. Send me a DM. I need your email address. You are the winner. Katie got it second. Elizabeth got it third. But Marissa was the winner for the Find the Lie. Look, a lot of people thought number 2, not number 2, y'all. Now I have to let you talk about it. So tell us about juggling and tell us about pole vaulting.
Okay, so the story with juggling is my dad used to work at somewhere called Fairy Tale Town when he was a teenager, and he was a juggler. So he juggled, and then he taught, well, he didn't teach us necessarily, but he would come to our classrooms when we were kids and he would do his whole thing. He had a bag full of tricks, y'all. It was really cool. And then when my identical twin sister and I went to college together, we took a juggling class because we wanted to be like our dad and juggle. So we learned how to juggle, and then we made it a gig basically. So we would go and we would juggle together. She would go on my back, I would juggle, she'd catch the balls, juggle back down, whole thing. And yeah, Marissa's 100% cheating because she answered that correctly. Number 2, I did compete in the Junior Olympics as a pole vaulter. I pole vaulted when I was in high school. Not much more to say about that. I was a gymnast for a long time, so it was a transferable skill. I got shin splints during track season. They're like, hey, instead of doing the 400, would you like to pole vault while you recover? Because it was such a short distance and they still wanted the points. So I did that and then ended up really liking it and going on from there. So yeah, that's real. And I don't like being in the ocean because the ocean is somewhere to be respected. So being a certified dive master sounds really scary to me.
See, I don't like being in the ocean because of sharks, and I live 5 minutes away from the beach, and I know that is like the most irrational fear ever, but no. And jellyfish, y'all. So many jellyfish like wash up on the shore. I don't want to be in there. I don't want anybody to ever have to pee on me. No, thank you. Okay, so we got 1 box of cookies gone, and it's okay that you cheated. You still commented first, so send me your email. I got you. All right, now we're gonna do mine, y'all. Mine aren't as exciting, but here we go. Find the lie. Number 1. Have I never, ever broken a bone? Number 2, do I play table tennis as a hobby? Or number 3, is this my natural hair color? Let me know in the comments what you all think. 1, 2, or 3. And one of you is going to win some Grove Cookie Company cookies. Yours were so exciting. I feel like mine were pretty boring. when I asked Kat to play, she was like, yours were simple. I had to come up with some good stuff. And I was like, man, I got to get better about this. Okay, people are guessing number one. Number two is it, Liz, you and the cookies. I do not play table tennis. Could any of you actually imagine me playing table tennis? And who calls it that? It's like ping pong, right? I don't know. Number two, Liz is the winner. Thanks for playing the game with us, you guys. Let me know. Do you like Two Truths and a Lie? Do you want me to keep doing that with the guest? I like it. And y'all know I just kind of do whatever I want. But if you guys don't like it, we don't have to keep doing it. I do have to keep talking about the Truff Mini White Hot Sauce 4-pack that we're giving away. So comment Sendoso for that. I want you all to enter to win. Only 8 of you, man. If I don't like truffle, there's another thing about me. That's my Fun Friday fact. I'm dropping it early. So I would never enter to win anything from Truff because I don't like truffle. But I love that all of you are so obsessed with it. And it smells so bad when it goes across the restaurant. But I love that you all eat it. And it's disgusting.
You're like, it's great if you like it, but I hate it. Also, wonderful. It's gross.
So gross. It's so gross. Fat fingers for the loss. Love the game though. Sorry, Jody. You do have to have the right digits to hit the right numbers. Liz likes table tennis. I do not. Yes, it's fun. Okay, y'all go play together, but don't count me in for that. And Aaron was watching last week. I'm not a big cheese person. Y'all are all going to learn all about me. How much do you like cheese, Kat?
I love cheese.
That was my lie last week. Lauren loves cheese.
My wife went to Amsterdam and the thing she brought back for me was like Dutch cheese. I'm not kidding.
I love it. There's a person that I follow who has like a wheel of cheese in their car, like a big, and they like take bites of it, and they're like, they live up north, and they're like, it's getting warmer now. I'm gonna have to take the cheese inside. And I'm like, what in the world, you guys are? Yeah, Liz says I'm weird. I think you guys are weird. Lindsay, you could totally have mine. I hope you entered to win. I'm not entering because I don't want to win on my own show. But if you win, Lindsay, you send me a video of you eating all the Truff hot sauce because it's not for me. All right, we got 2 more topics. We got to keep going. And I know you guys care about this one because this one's an important one. We're going to talk about debunking job-seeking myths. There are so many myths out there in your job search and all the things you should be doing. I'm not even going to get us started because you wouldn't get to talk. But Kat, why don't you go first? Let's talk about debunking some of these myths. What are the biggest myths that you're seeing out there right now?
I picked this specifically because I knew you would have something to say about it. So this is intentional. It's part of my master plan. Okay, so a couple of the myths that I'm seeing right now that I just hate and need to address. I think this one's been brought up, but overwhelm your resume with keywords. Don't do that. Like, there are AI solutions that exist as a way to screen applicants. However, there are humans in every workflow for every tool that I have seen, looking at resumes, and they can see when it's just a bunch of keywords and they're not just selecting, like Lauren, you had a great example we were talking about, like put the keywords in white at the bottom and the PDF, like that is not real. That doesn't work. You have to actually be qualified and have a resume that makes sense without just stuffing keywords in it. So please don't do that. Another one I've seen, don't apply if there are a ton of applicants on LinkedIn specifically. That is terrible advice. Please apply. A lot of people applying to advice either have some kind of automatic notifications where they apply really quickly. A little while ago, I applied to a job that had over 1,000 applications. Got an interview, and I brought this up with the interviewer. I said, hey, like, I know that there were a lot of applications. I'm so thankful that, I'm talking to you. And they were like, actually, I wish that we had more qualified applicants. Once we actually go through those, we don't have a lot, and our pipeline needs to be stronger. So when you see those big numbers, unless there is a deadline to apply date on the job description, please apply. Please apply. Searching, okay, 3 more. LinkedIn is the best place to find a job. I see this a lot. It's not true. while LinkedIn can work for people, there are so many other career sites that are great that you should be looking at. Indeed, Well Found, which used to be AngelList, if you're into the startup life like me, Built In, Monster Jobs. There are so many sourcing companies like Power to Fly that you can be involved in. There are a ton of places that you can find that are not LinkedIn to help you find a job. So don't just stick to one platform, diversify where you're looking if you're in that situation. And then search for a job like it's your full-time job. I don't think that that is actually good for you. And this is my own just opinion, no data to back this up, but I really do think it is so helpful if you are in a situation where you're job seeking to look at your job search like a block of time that you do in a day so that you don't get into a habit of doom scrolling and trying to refresh and refresh. There are a limited number of jobs that come up in a day. Give yourself a block of time. You can structure it into your, I live and die by my calendar. So it would be, I have 2 hours or I have an hour and a half to apply and look for jobs each morning. And that's what I spend the time doing. Then I learn a skill or I focus on prepping for something or I focus on exercise or doing something for fun. Because even if you're job seeking, like don't punish yourself for being in that situation. Continue to invest in yourself because it can be really, really hard and people are in the market for a really long time right now. So if someone's telling you that you should be looking for a job like it's your full-time job, maybe just take a second and look at where the advice is coming from and think about whether that's going to be something that will work for you and structure yourself in a way to be successful without burning out. And then finally, this one is maybe more controversial because Lauren, you posted a video about this and something you would do the other day is someone tells you to message the recruiter. I don't think you should do that unless someone says they're open to it. Here's why. Specifically for in-house recruiters at a brand, they get so overwhelmed by people reaching out and saying, hey, I want to connect. Hey, like I saw the job description. They probably have tens to hundreds of roles they may be looking at. And that gets so overwhelming. The other thing that is important to note is that it's not always equitable to go through these lines of trying to connect into a job. It is what is out there right now. Everybody wants a referral into somewhere. And it can be really challenging to make that unless you put them through the same process that everyone else is going through once they're in the door. So unless someone says, hey, you should give me the information tied on a bow and exactly why you're good for this job, unless someone says, please do that, don't do that. It's my controversial take.
But it's okay. We can all have different opinions. That's what this show is for. I love it when people argue with me in the comments during this show. I think Lindsay actually did that with me one episode. Y'all, everybody takes an approach. And this is another thing that Kat and I were talking about before the show is that what works for me might not work for you. What works for Kat might not work for anybody else. But in terms of being equitable, there is a correlation of people who are referred in getting a different treatment in their job interview experience. I've seen it firsthand, especially with companies who are claiming that, oh, we're going to review every single resume for this position. No, you're not. You literally referred someone in. That person posted on LinkedIn, oh, I'm so happy so-and-so reached out to me for this job. Okay. No. You give it away on the back end that you're not actually being as equitable as you say you are being in your actions. So I think that there's a lot of only once, Lindsay, I love you too. I do want to pull this up really quick. I think this is Jody. This is true. I did this when I was using LinkedIn job boards and I was trying to show you guys behind the scenes when I had active jobs on LinkedIn, which I don't post on LinkedIn anymore. LinkedIn wants to charge me way too much money to post jobs on LinkedIn. Nope. No, thank you. For a crappy job board. But LinkedIn when you click on a job with easy apply, it will count you as an applicant. And even if you don't actually finish the application, it will count you as an applicant. So you could look at something like Kat did and it say 1,000 people, but maybe only 200 actually got through where they clicked into the last step that you actually applied. So don't let those big numbers scare you. And like Kat said, if it's a really great job description, it's probably going to tell you when the last day is to have that moment, right? And then the other thing, and I want to point this out too, what Kat's saying is, I agree with you 100% when it comes to internal recruiters. For someone like me, who's an agency recruiter, and I'm looking at a bunch of different roles for a bunch of different companies, I typically know where my companies are at in their DEI efforts and where their initiatives are. Those are conversations I'm having before I'm posting a job description, before I'm looking for candidates, because that's so important to me. So to me, it's a little bit different just because I'm agency. And if you don't understand the difference in recruiters, go back. That was a different show with Amy Miller a few weeks ago. You can watch that one. We're not going to get into that today. But I do find a little bit of a difference between agency and internal. Willa says that premium shows you the number of applications. That is true, but it can still be deceiving, Willa. It could be an inflated number that's not actually the right number. One of the myths that I want to talk about, and Kat, I think that you brought this up briefly, is that when you're applying for jobs, you don't necessarily have to change your resume for every job, right? Like, I know people say customize your resume for every job, but to Kat's point about not applying for so many jobs, if customizing your resume feels overwhelming to you, I will challenge you that you're probably over applying. You are probably applying for too many roles, because if it was a job that you would chew your right arm off for, you would take 5-10 minutes to customize your resume. You would take 10 minutes to research the culture and the values and make sure that you're hitting some of those things. You would write a cover letter that will get read if you do it correctly. So I think that there's there's a disconnect somewhere between the number of jobs people are applying for. Like, spray and pray doesn't work, y'all. It doesn't. But there's a disconnect. Don't apply for so much. Like Kat said, block it off an hour and a half. Apply for 25 jobs this week with intention and see where you're at, rather than the 150 last week and you're just getting rejection after rejection.
So true.
Sorry, that was my soapbox. All right.
I love it.
We still have another topic, and this one's important. So we're going to talk about finding your community without being an influencer. I talk to a lot of people on LinkedIn and they're like, but Lauren, you have so many followers. One, I didn't do that on purpose. It just happened. But two, I want to talk about specifically when you're building community, what does it feel like on one end when you want to grow? But what does it feel like when you maybe don't want to grow, but you want people to understand or see you as a thought leader?
Really excellent framing on that. That's exactly, I think the through line in all of this is clarity. You want to know what your goal is. If your goal is to build a lot of influence and follower count, like, awesome. Know that, make a plan for it, and go get it. Rooting for you. If your plan or your goal is to be seen as credible in your field, and you don't need to have a ton of connections to do that, knowing that is step number one. So just being clear on your goal and what you want to accomplish, but then the way that you go about doing that, the thing that I have done and has been successful for me, I will take it back to, like, what works for me may not work for everyone, but one, it has worked really well for me to show up with genuine positivity and excitement for other people in my network. I actually see Katie Penner doing this all the time. I see people like Cassidy Edwards, who is a dear friend of mine I met on LinkedIn, doing this all the time. They are just genuinely excited and positive about what other people in their networks are creating. And that will get you further than you think. I think the next one is getting curious about what people are building, asking questions about what drives them. Like, hey, I saw this thing. I saw you were interested in this. What's behind that? Like, just getting a little bit curious about the people that you interact with online goes a long way, because people like to be asked. they like to be thought of. They like to get into the topics that excite them and get them motivated. So that's an unlock there. And then for me, also writing as a way to learn and communicate has been really helpful because I have a small newsletter. It has like 800 or so people subscribing across like my platforms, but it's a way for me to build credibility and think through topics that otherwise, like for me, you kill a live show, you rock a live show. It wouldn't be for me because it just wouldn't be the thing that would work for me. But having a newsletter and being authentic to that is something that works. It also helps with longevity. I'm going to stick with it if it's something that I like. So I think there are ways that you can build your thought leadership brand without having to be someone who is so visible to everybody. That is not my goal. You know, I don't want to be everywhere, but I do want to know what is going on. And I do want to be informed and educated around the topics that my community and ultimately the people that I am trying to help care about. So that's really important to me as well. So there's a lot that you can do without even like creating bespoke new resources. I think some of the worst advice around building your brand is like, well, build your network before you need it. I think that's great, but you need to also like give steps for what you would do in that situation. Like, how do I even get started doing that? Like, I don't know. What do I need to do? There's a lot there, and I know I'm rambling at this point, but yeah.
What do you say to people who they want to build community, right? But I think it's hard. People right now are having a hard time finding that genuine community because it feels like a lot of people just have agendas. So when you're in this scenario, how do you spot that out? How do you decide where to invest, what's genuine, and how do you really spot the people who are really just in it for themselves?
Great question. I tend to, even though I live by it's the impact, not the intention, I try and think about and give people the benefit of the doubt to the extreme. If somebody connects with me on LinkedIn and immediately tries to sell me something or immediately tries to ask me a question without having ever engaged in my content before or bringing up anything kind of relevant, then I know that their next step is going to be to sell me something, which maybe I'm in the mood for, maybe I will entertain, but usually I just try and be as kind and direct as possible. But those like super quick, hey, I'm going to connect with you and then I'm going to ask you for something. If you're not upfront in that first ask, like, hey, this is why, I try to give that context. I try to see and spot the lack of context coming in because that'll say a lot. And I'm not someone, I always tell people, if you want to sell to me, here's how to do it, as opposed to like connecting with me and then just immediately telling me what you want, because that doesn't work for me.
It doesn't work. Unless you're me and you connect and you're like, oh my God, I'm obsessed. Please come on my live show. I think that was literally the message I sent you in my connection request when I found you in January. I was like, I have to know you. I have to know you right now. Y'all, this was fun. I'm sure we could keep going for another hour, but it is the end of the hour. Let's do your fun Friday fact. Okay, what you got for us, Kat? What's your fact of the day?
Oh man, my fact of the day. Okay. I'm going to give y'all a fact about my grandmother because everyone's asking, right? No. So my grandmother has her master's in career services. Fun fact. So she's been helping people who are unemployed get jobs for a long time. And she used to run a business called the 5 o'clock Club, which was something where she would meet in person with people who were job seekers and unemployed and help them review their resumes, help them apply for jobs, hold them accountable, and then ultimately get placed. That's my fun Friday fact.
I love that. That's incredible. I gave mine earlier. I don't like truffle, but yours was so much better. Last chance, comments and doso. I'm about to pull up the giveaway. It is your last chance to win. I think I have the picture right here. This cool 4-pack of hot sauce. I know Kat entered. All right. If you didn't enter, you're not going to have a chance. I got to share my screen. And let's see who's going to win today. On your mark, get set, go. Andrew, Kat, Melissa. I really want it to be you. I've never had the person on the show win.
That would.
Andrew. This gift doesn't ship to Canada, but I have other ones that do. So you can decide. You can have the hot sauce shipped to someone here, or you and I can pick something different that can ship to you in Canada. I know you get left out a lot. I want you to get to have a prize. So let me know what you prefer. We can do anything here. It's Sendoso. We're going to Sendoso you some fun. Kat, this was awesome. Thank you so much for coming on with me today. I really enjoyed it. I hope you did too.
Thanks for having me. It was a blast. And thanks everyone for being so engaged in the comments. It was awesome.
Yes. Thank you for tuning in. You guys make it worthwhile. We will see you next week. Unless you didn't enjoy it, then don't come back. Bye.